David Simpson.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker, and it's good to follow the honourable member from Tewsbury, and of course in his role I congratulate him as the chair of the Northern Ireland Select Committee, and we've done some very good work. Mr Deputy Speaker, it was LP Hartley who famously said of the past that it is a foreign country and they do things differently there. In one sense he was right. We should learn from the past mistakes, whether as individuals or collectively as a community, in order to ensure such mistakes are not passed down to a further generation to be repeated. Perhaps because of the immediacy of the troubles in Northern Ireland, we have not yet reached the stage where we can describe the past as another country or as something that is foreign. It is not. There are tens of thousands of people, including hundreds of my own constituents, who live with the trauma caused by past events. They have lost loved ones, fathers, mothers, brothers, sisters, husbands, wives, and to the conflict, and that legacy of hurt is enduring in spite of the progress that has been made over the last decade or so. We owe it to our fellow citizens to ensure that they are at the heart of the transformation process that our society is undertaking. They cannot be left behind. In every sphere of life, people see things from different perspectives. Ask two people to describe an event they both witnessed, and you will oftentimes get two very different descriptions of the same event. If we didn't, there'd be no need for football commentators or current affair television shows. This is especially the case in the historical debate and discussion. The Premier of the People's Republic of China, whose name I will not try to pronounce.
Why not?
When asked what he felt the impact of the French Revolution had been, he famously declared that it was too early to say, and that was some 200 years after the event. We were tasked with addressing issues that happened within the living memory of most people in Northern Ireland. History is and always will be a contested field, and there will never be any agreement or any agreed interpretation of historical events. This is the case in every society, and in that regard Northern Ireland is no different. Whilst there are differences of emphasis and differences of approach to the interpretation of past events that occurred in Northern Ireland, I believe that it is essential that we establish a basic framework of first principles. Truth is not a relative concept, and it exists independently of historic revisions or approach. Without the establishment and widespread acceptance of such truth, we cannot hope to address inadequately the legacy of pain and suffering that still exists in our society as a consequence of the past events. The first and most obvious statement of truth is that not everyone in Northern Ireland is a victim. There are some who would seek to claim that every single person in our country is a victim. This is an insidious concept for two reasons. Firstly, it diminishes the genuine suffering and pain of those who were directly affected by the actions of terrorists during the Troubles, and secondly, it elevates those who engaged in criminal acts to equal status with those whose suffering they caused in the first place. Terrorists of whatever hue or variety do not exist on the same moral plane as those who they terrorised. They cannot ever enjoy that standing. And secondly, whilst the general attitudes in society may indeed shape people's outlook and perspective, we must accept that people are ultimately individuals, and as such must be responsible for their individual actions. Society, even one as divided and conflict-riven as Northern Ireland was, did not make people engage in murder nor other such crimes. Whilst we are not all victims, we are also not all collectively responsible. for the actions of terrorists? Nobody. No one made Sean Kelly and Thomas Begley plant a bomb on the Shankill Road. That murdered 9 innocent people, as we have already heard, and ultimately cost Mr. Begley his own life, nor any other atrocity that has been carried out from either side of the community. To latch on to the concept of society and to use it to justify such barbaric acts is a measure designed only to placate the conscience of evil people and to lay the blame at the doors of those of us, the huge majority of the citizens of Northern Ireland, for their actions. Much like a wife beater saying his unfortunate spouse made him do it. For a terrorist to blame society is a lazy get-out clause with no moral basis at all. The third principle is that we must adhere to is that those who engaged in the armed insurrection against the state are in no position to be demanding openness and truth recovery from anyone whilst they lie about what they did. We have reached the absurd point in Northern Ireland today where the president of Sinn Féin would seek to deny he ever was a member of the provisional IRA and with a straight face demands truth and honesty from the state. You cannot lie through your teeth and at the same time demand truth. Mr. Speaker, it's time Sinn Féin grew up. It's time that they accepted the fact that they will never be allowed to rewrite the history of Northern Ireland. And finishing, Mr. Deputy Speaker, you will be aware, and it has already been mentioned, that the intensive talks process involving Dr. Richard Haas is currently underway in the province. Of all the challenges he faces, I suspect that dealing with the legacy of the past will probably be his greatest. But I believe it is essential that we do so in a way that is victim-centred and founded on principles that are rooted in justice, honesty and the truth.